So to 13 is where we are now. Three more statements in this chapter. So 213, people claim that within the three trainings, the superior training of the disciplined conduct precedes. So the three trainings, you should know some of these terms, then it's a lot easier. The three trainings is the training in disciplined conduct, Shila, then the training in Samadhi, meditative concentration, and then the training in insight or discriminative knowledge, wisdom, prajna, the three trainings. So Shila, Samadhi, and prajna are the three trainings. So basically here, Kyoba Rinpoche is responding to those who say that the way these three trainings always occur is you have to always start with disciplined conduct. So the logic of that claim is, of course, that you begin with disciplined conduct. Then when your disciplined conduct is stable, then your meditation, the second training, can be stable. Then when your meditation is stable, then your wisdom can develop. So very logical. And generally that is said to be where we should start. But here, Kyoba Rinpoche says, it is also possible. So here he's not saying that the general view is wrong. He's saying it also occurs, meaning it's also possible that the superior training of discriminative knowledge comes first, precedes. So here, the three trainings are explained as having a progression. But the expression also indicates some uncertainty regarding the exact progression. Because an authentic guru teaches pith instructions to a worthy disciple, accomplishment arises in the latter's mental continuum. This is the training of superior discriminative knowledge. Yeah, so Kyoba Rinpoche is saying there's also the case where a qualified guru might be able to give some very essential instructions to a student that gives rise to an understanding, gives rise to some degree of wisdom. And then the student starts from there. In fact, we see a lot of examples like that, especially when you read the collection called the 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. It's not literally 100,000 songs. 100,000 is just many songs of Milarepa. Yeah. Again and again, you see in there, he would encounter kind of shepherd, hunters, random people. You don't see Milarepa going, okay, first, you need to have renunciation. Then, forethoughts that turn the mind. Then, you need to take refuge. Then, you need to take this vow. Then you need, so Milarepa doesn't do the lamrim stuff. What we normally call lamrim, the stages of the path. In fact, so many times, if you pay attention, Milarepa starts with mind instructions. Simply, pith instructions about the mind. Recently, I was just with the Little Rock group that we meet every Sunday. Well, they meet every Sunday. When I can, I meet with them. And they're reading the songs of Milarepa. So there, you know, like the most recent that we came across with this one, I think he was a shepherd who came with a friend. So immediately Milarepa, this young boy, Milarepa said, hey, something happened that they got interested in Milarepa. So then they said, tell me, you know, one of the two boys said, you know, tell me what are you doing? So Milarepa said, okay, you want to know? Here, I give you some homework. Tonight you go, when you go home, you look at your mind, and tomorrow you come and tell me what you saw. So the boy came back and said, I got home and I put all the animals, you know, safely back in, you know, their pen and all that. Then I looked at my mind and I don't know, like first I thought I saw it, you know, then I didn't see it. Then I thought I saw it again. Then it's like darting around in and out. And Milarepa said, okay, good. So now here, I'll give you more. Yeah, so basically Milarepa is giving him already pointing out instructions. Until he got interested, then Milarepa says, okay, now, you know, in a way like he's hooked, you know. And then Milarepa said, okay, now, let me explain to you refuge, what it means to take refuge. And let me explain to you the faults of samsara. Then only, you know, the step-by-step is given. Yeah, so here, you know, Chodra says, when an authentic guru teaches pith instructions to a worthy disciple, accomplishment arises in the latter's mental continuum. This is the training of superior discriminative knowledge. To maintain the continuity of that training is the superior training of Samadhi. So in order to let that superior insight training continue, right? And a commitment to that, that is the training in Samadhi. Having perfected the realization, the arising of emptiness as cause and result is the superior training of disciplined conduct. Meaning to be able to see how, you know, from the perspective of seeing nature of mind and understanding how that emptiness, this was in Jigten Sumgön's own experience. His understanding about the importance of disciplined conduct came fairly late in his 11 years of mostly meditation retreat after the death of Pamodrupa. First, he did 7 years with a couple of breaks that he left and did other things. But 7 years, the first chunk of time, then left again, then came back into retreat for another 4 years. The realizations that came to him during that time, it's not so much even about what we would call nature of mind per se, but really about how once nature of mind is recognized and stabilized, what he began to understand more and more about cause and effect. And that it was actually more like profound understanding of how cause and effect works was basically what was unfolding for him in those 11 years. Really, when you see his biography, you see this. I don't know if people catch this per se. If you read the biography without knowing these issues, you might miss the fact that for the most part, the realizations that arose is more about the intricacies of cause and effect, and how cause and effect, the workings of cause and effect, is the other side of the coin that you call emptiness. That in fact, like, the understanding of emptiness arose very early in his training, and specifically his training with Pomodrupa. He understood that fairly early. Then he thought, okay, I know everything already. He said, because that is one of his kind of his issues, pride. He thought, okay, I know everything already. But then when he continued and meditated more, then, oh, it's like, oh no, that's not the relationship. So anyway, here, he's saying that he did not really fully, completely understood the training in disciplined conduct until he really understood his mind. So this is also to show that disciplined conduct, in the system that says you start with disciplined conduct, then you go to meditation, then you arrive at wisdom, it seems as if, right, that the real goal is wisdom. So that's another problem with the general presentation. It will seem as if that disciplined conduct and Samadhi are stepping stones to the real thing you're looking for, wisdom. But here, in rephrasing it, Kyoba Rinpoche also wants to show how actually the real purpose of having wisdom is so that your conduct can be truly good for yourself and others. You see how in the end, right, it's not even wisdom that is so important. If that wisdom doesn't dispel the confusion that then translates to perfect conduct, what the heck is the point of wisdom? So again, I think here the commentary doesn't directly say all of this, Here the commentary is mainly emphasizing how the order of these three can occur not just in that common way of thinking. First, fix your conduct, then stabilize your meditation, then wisdom can arise. Here, the commentary is mostly addressing that issue. But I can see that actually here, the statement is saying more than that. It's also saying that the ordinary way makes it seem like disciplined conduct is just a preliminary, so that it can give rise to good meditation. And even there, good meditation is preliminary so that it can finally give wisdom. Once you have wisdom, woohoo, you're good. Kyoba Rinpoche is turning it around to say, this is a very crucial reminder. But what is the point of this wisdom? If the point of this wisdom doesn't result in perfect conduct, then what are we talking about? Of course, if it is truly the wisdom of the Buddha that you have achieved, then you don't need to worry about whether perfect conduct will come or not. Yeah, that's also true. But again, on this end of confusion for us, we need constant reminder, because we might think, oh, I have the wisdom now. But that is easy to deceive yourself, right? I have the wisdom now. Especially, I have the wisdom. Well, how come people don't notice? Well, it's too profound. They cannot see. This smugness, like, oh, I know better. But if you know better, but your conduct don't reveal that, then it's not knowing better. You don't know better. You have not actually gotten anything close to the wisdom that the Buddha is revealing to us. So anyway, here, having perfected the realization, the arising of emptiness as cause and effect is a superior training of disciplined conduct. So for example, the Lord Jigten Sungen took full ordination after the realization of no more practice was born in his mind. So see, no more practice, that means beyond practice. But it was after that realization came that then he took full ordination. Remember how, right? Even when Pamodrupa said, hey, now it's time to become a monk. He was like, no. And he says later, his pride, he thought, I don't need this. And so that's that attitude, like I have superior insight, why do I need the monk's vows? Monk's vows, the whole point of the monk's vows, is to give rise to good meditation, which is to give rise to wisdom. And now I just primarily need to train in wisdom. I don't need that. But actually in his life, you see how he took up full ordination after he achieved the state known as no more practice. And the 5 good companions of the Buddha, the first 5 monks that the Buddha made, took up the training of full ordination after they have mastered gnosis, wisdom. After they already achieved wisdom, then they said to the Buddha, okay, now please make us monks. And Yashas, the son of the foremost family, took on the attributes and training of full ordination after obtaining arhatship, while still clothed in the garments of a householder. Another example of the historical Buddha, Yashas. He already achieved arhat. He already achieved arhatship. And then he took full ordination. Moreover, even nowadays, a householder may take the vows of pratimoksha only after practicing dhyana and thus perceiving gnosis. The Sanjayagata says, discriminative knowledge precedes the giving of gifts, and similarly also disciplined conduct, patience, endeavors, and dhyana. And so this is one text that shows how, even though in the 6 perfections, prajna is the 6th, and the first 5 is sometimes described as serving to give rise to the 6th. At the same time, it is said, you need to have some degree of the 6th, having seen reality directly, that then you can practice the other 5. Since this has been taught, the intention is that there's no certainty regarding a single definition, a single definite progression in the 3 trainings. Yeah. So I think, yes, that's the basic point, right? There is no single definite progression, but I think the implications are actually deeper than that. The implications is deeper than that. The implications has something to do with this perfect conduct. It's not just a means to an end. In fact, the end is also the perfect conduct. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think your explanation is very illustrative, because you cannot do it linearly, because our conduct is never perfect. If we
Mm-hmm.
have to do all of our conduct to perfection before
Mm-hmm.
we can do the other things, we will never get there. We are not perfect.
Yep.
So there seems to be like a feedback.
Yes,
Like
there's a feedback loop.
Yeah. You mentioned that the teacher's instruction could cause a turning of the mind of the student that might lead him to start conducting himself in a more perfect manner.
Yes.
So the relationship of conduct, practice, realization, all these things are interrelated and have to be brought up together.
Right.
And the perfect conduct, in a way, it can be an end in itself. If you live a perfect life, if your conduct is always perfect, even if you don't have wisdom, you are conducting yourself perfectly. There's merit to that in and of itself. So I think it's a very, very interesting and useful explanation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, the definition here of perfect conduct is in a way that in the end, perfect conduct is not possible if the wisdom is not there also. Yeah, then it'll only be seemingly perfect conduct.
Okay. Also, your motivation is strengthened if you have the understanding of why the conduct
yes, of course.
should be maintained.
And which is the point, that the commentary Chodra is making here.
Yeah. If you have no conviction in what you're doing,
yes,
and the reasons for it, then
so Chodra is making the case that for Kyopa, Kyopa Rinpoche is saying it is not always this linear progression that begins with practicing moral ethics, then practicing meditation, then practicing wisdom. Yeah, so that's the general thrust of Chodrak's commentary. But on top of that, I want to say, it also, in a way I feel more importantly, the statement is also showing how another problem with looking at things that way is not just, as we have discussed, how actually they mutually reinforce, there is a feedback loop and all of that. But to me, the more important point with the statement is also saying the error of seeing it in that linear way and thinking that as long as you have wisdom, or supposedly what you think is wisdom, the meditation and the conduct is just, steps to that. So once you get that, what's the need for the other two? And today, I can say many urban Buddhists, very sophisticated Buddhists, especially in the West, but I also see this in Asia, among the urbanites, very educated. Yeah. It's so easy to contrive wisdom and think, oh, I have wisdom now. Then meditation and conduct, not so important. But no.
This is also reinforces the other teaching of view, conduct, and practice all being one.
Yes. Yeah. Statement 14. One practices all stages of the path in each single session. This is said in response to people claim that one practices all stages of the teachings and the path in succession. And this is to counter those who say, first, you need to spend a good period of time with the first stage, like maybe whatever you think the first stage is, like renunciation, then this, then that, right? These are, this view again, as a general conventional view, it's reasonable. And so like in the West now, so many teachers and centers, they create these study programs because that's how we are familiar, because we all went to college and we all went through a curriculum. So we think, oh, Dharma too, oh, let's do it that way, right? So here, Kyoba Rinpoche is saying, no, in one session, all the elements should be there. Rather than, oh, this session, I will only think about impermanence and death and change. Oh, next session, I'm going to do this. Or even, at this part of my life, I'm just going to do the Hinayana. Then later, I'm going to do Mahayana. Then later, I'm going to do Vajrayana. Yeah. Here, Kyoba Rinpoche said, no. Every session should contain all the elements. Now here, okay, to be clear, Jigten Sumgön is not saying that, that there is no progression. But what he is saying is, like, for example, right, if you do Yongondro, right, well, of course, there's progression. First is refuge practice, yeah, then is Vajrasattva practice or whatever. But he's saying in each of those practices, the elements of all the stages of the path have to be there. Whether overtly or not so overtly, it needs to be there. We'll look at this more, but I want to call your attention to, in the notes, Sobish says the Rinjangma gives the example of the contention of some that through contemplation of death and impermanence for up to 12 years, the mind is made firm, right? That sounds very reasonable, yeah? You just practice for 12 years, contemplating death and impermanence. Right? Then you can make your mind very firm. Then you'll be ready for the next, right? Here, Jigten Sumgön maintains that it would be meaningless if one had practiced only the thoughts of death and impermanence and died when one was about to enter the higher paths. Jigten Sumgön said, that would be such a waste. I mean, not meaningless completely. I mean, it will carry effect to the next life, but then it's such a waste, right? Instead, one practices all stages of the path in a single session. Moreover, the Rinjangma refers in this context to a teaching by Jayua Shonuo, one of Gampopa's Kadampa teachers, according to which it is necessary to contemplate death and impermanence in each first session. Jayua said, if you forget, not it, but if you forget to practice death and impermanence once in the morning, during that day, you will aim only at this life. Thus, Rinchen Chanchup contends it is necessary to cultivate the thoughts of death and impermanence from the depths of one's heart, then to contemplate karma, cause, result, and the disadvantages of samsara until one understands that all the higher and lower realms of samsara are like a fire pit. Then one continues the session by cultivating love, compassion, and resolve for awakening and so forth. Having cultivated the resolve, the meditator practices selflessness in agreement with sutra, or the stages of cultivation and completion in agreement with mantra. Then Sobish goes on to talk about the fivefold path of Mahamudra. How the fivefold path is one way, or the primary way that Jigten Sumgön taught how to practice all elements in one session. But ironically, the fivefold path, at least the way it is done these days, whenever people tend to talk about Fivefold Path, it is, in my opinion, done in the way that this statement criticizes. Because I don't know what to say. I mean, I have such limited, but it seems like, the way normally when people talk about in the Dugong Kagyu these days, when we talk about the Fivefold Path, people tend to emphasize completing the numbers. So it's become, oh, the Fivefold Path, the first aspect is bodhicitta. Then you do 100,000 repetitions of the bodhicitta formula or prayer together with prostrations. And this is after you finish your ngondro. Finish. Then you do the bodhicitta. Oh, then you do the idam for 100,000. And then you do the Guru Yoga of the Fivefold Path 100,000. Then you do the meditation, the natural state for a period of time. There you cannot count 100,000. Then you do the final dedication 100,000. I don't know, based on this statement, it seems like, I have my own, I'll confess, crazy ideas of how the Fivefold Path is meant to be practiced. But I should point out, in the tradition these days, if you say, I want to practice the Fivefold Path, most lamas will say, okay, now you start with this, then you start with this, then you start with this. It's okay. I'm not like criticizing and saying that that is wrong, but I would say if you are doing it that way, then you should not forget this statement, that every session should include all elements. So if you are following that tradition, oh, first you do so long this practice, then you do this practice for this long, then you do this practice for this long, or you count this much, even if you're doing it that way, try to make sure all the elements of the path is present, whether you're doing accumulating prostration or you're accumulating, Vajrasattva, or you're accumulating, make sure that the Fivefold Path, the 5 elements of the Fivefold Path is present. Questions, comments? I mean, we'll look at the notes, and the notes. Sobish provides a very useful chart. This is from Pamodrupa's collected works. If you have the page, a book, the physical book, it's on page 203 under notes there. He gives you the Fivefold Path, the way Pamodrupa talked about it, and relating it to, interestingly, you overcome these demons, 5 types of demons, an aspect. Each aspect of the path is related to the pacifying of a type of demon. The Gyaogong demon, Senmo demon, the Devaputra Mara demon, the Naga demons, the malevolent spirits, and the demons, the 5 families of demons. So to us, like this is like, what are these demons, And to us, perhaps we will psychologize them and say, well, they represent this, they represent that. But I can tell you, I think for Pamodrupa's audience and for Jigten Sumgön's audience, these demons are very real. How real? Well, as real as your pet, and your people. As in, I'm not saying as real as in, they can touch them, they can pet them. But as real in the sense that the way Jigten Sumgön's audience and Pamodrupa's audience would understand these demons is that your actions can affect these demons in the same way that the actions of these demons can affect you. Yeah, as real as that. Now, I'm not saying you need to believe that as well, but I think it would be a misrepresentation of what people understood if we say, oh, this is all just symbolic. It's not symbolic. For them. Does it have to be not symbolic for you? I don't know. You have to yourself kind of experience and, pay attention to your experiences and all of that. But the point is still this. The point is, when you practice the Dharma, you can overcome these demons, however you conceive of these demons, whether in this more spirit sense of demons or, how we even talk about it. Oh, I have my demons. Oh, you have your demons, Oh, she has her demons. Yeah. However you conceive of demons, the bigger point, the more important point is, by practicing the Dharma and then here the various aspects of the fivefold Dharma, these demons can be overcome. That's more important. Yeah? But I think it's fair to say that in the times that, Jigten Sumgun, Pamadrupa, and even stretching back to Indian Buddhism, the time of the Buddha, for them, one of the signs that you are actually achieving some spiritual maturity is, in fact, your ability to triumph over demons. And so if that culture believes in, a more literal sense of demons, then the way that a practitioner knows that he or she, right, is actually making progress is, in fact, having the power to overcome those demons. So numerous stories, like the story of Milarepa, tells how through his mastery of these powers, he overcame many of these demons. But there, of course, Milarepa also takes those opportunities to show the origins of those demons are what we might call the inner demons. The inner demons, our kleshas, summon the outer demons. But how do we know that we are moving the right direction? Demon obstacles become less and less. That we are not so affected by changing conditions, especially conditions that turn negative, conditions that turn undesirable. We are less and less affected by it. That means we are overcoming the demons. So this week we will not meet on Friday because on Thursday, tomorrow evening, I start a retreat program with the Southern Dharma Retreat Center, Thursday to Sunday. Just to be clear, I don't know, it's just my own demons, I suppose. With these retreats, whether I'm doing it with Casa Tibet or doing it with Southern Dharma, there is no, payment involved, and I'm not involved in, how they decide, what they decide, how much they're going to charge, anything like that. I don't like to get involved in those things. I never ask, and whatever, they send or don't send, it's just fine with me. Because also, to be, I need to recognize that I'm fortunate enough, due to circumstances, causes and conditions, that I'm not needing to worry about that. But also to be clear, I have no control over these matters. Unless, of course, they are charging like $3,000, then I cannot say I have no control, then I have to say, hey, why are you charging 3,000, But, as long as, it's not anything like that, I don't, if you ask me, I have no idea even, like what, like the Buddhist Society in Little Rock, what they ask for registration and what Southern Dharma is asking for registration. I have no idea, because I don't like to get involved in these things. Yes, so which is also to say, sorry, I can't help, if you think it's too much, if you think it's too little, I don't get involved. Changju Semcho Rinpoche Ma Ge Ba Nam Ge Gyurche Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Ya Go Ne Gong Du Pe War Shu. I can stop the recording. This is